The IPO for SpaceX has taken off live on the NASDAQ. The stock sold for $150 at the opening, so 11% above the $135 offering price. We're looking at whether that pricing is justified. And here to talk about that is Lori Pinkowski, Senior Portfolio Manager at CG Wealth Management, founder of Pinkowski Wealth Management. Thanks for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So clearly we knew there was far more demand than there was supply for shares. Do you expect it to move even higher today?
Yeah, well, what we're seeing at this point, it's trading over 170 a share. As you mentioned, it opened at 150. So now we're looking at up to 27% or so since coming to market. And so where that ends up landing, I think obviously there's a lot of excitement around this. It was 3 to 4 times oversubscribed. That we know. A lot of interest from retail investors as well. And where it goes from here, I think what's important is that investors will eventually turn to earnings and profits and are they attaining the goals that they've set for themselves? So it's an exciting day because one, obviously a historic event being the largest IPO ever, but it also shows you how strong the markets are. IPOs like this wouldn't come to market if we were in a weak market. And so it's showing you and confirming we are in a bull market and it's still looking good.
All right. Talk to me a little bit more about what you think investors are buying into here, because as you mentioned, the company is not making money just yet.
Yeah, they're buying into the growth potential for sure. Even maybe a little bit of the Elon halo effect, right? And I think, again, the excitement around it. They're planning on being profitable at the end of this decade. And so obviously the investors are looking forward, which they tend to do. But you got to also keep in mind, is an investment like this for you? We had a lot of client inquiries over the last little while about this, people who would usually not even invest in IPOs. So there's a bit of FOMO out there. So again, always make sure that an investment is appropriate for you and your portfolio. And again, we'll be looking forward to see what kind of revenues they come up with from the different segments of their businesses and whether they're able to attain those high goals that they're setting for themselves.
Okay, let's talk about the conflict in Iran. We have another push to get to some sort of agreement. Markets seem to like this. Let me ask you whether you think that the optimism on this could easily wane, like it has so many other times before.
Yeah, no, I think this is positive news. It's the closest that we've come. As you may have just seen, Pakistan just announced that they're agreeing on the text for the deal. Something could be signed as soon as this weekend. Yes, there's been a ton of back and forth, to say the least, a lot of volatility around the news. However, we've been believers from early on that this is going to get resolved. And so when you're looking at the price of oil and where it was, where it is now, energy markets are telling you, as they're putting up on the screen here, oil is down over 3%, but seeing WTI at under $85 a barrel, I think that's really important. And so when we're looking at those inflation numbers that we saw earlier this week, the belief from markets is that that's going to be somewhat short-lived because a lot of it, or all of it almost, is energy driven. So yeah, no, it's an exciting time to make sure that we see this deal signed. Could it waver? Could it change? Yeah, definitely. Every day is new and exciting, I say, under Trump here and managing money. However, this is the closest we've been, and we're believers that a deal will get done rather sooner than later.
So, Lori, I'm going to ask you about whether you see the price of oil stabilizing a little bit more. If there is an agreement, we know we'll see the price of oil react. But then comes the unwind, right, about looking at the damage, when that strait will get reopened, how much traffic it's going to be able to go through. All of that has to unwind. And some say it could take the better part of the year. Do you see the price of oil stabilizing maybe as soon as the agreement is done, or do you think there's more volatility to come?
I think it could take some time, but again, markets are forward-looking, including oil markets, right? And so if we see the strait open at this point, we're seeing 2 million barrels a day moving through the strait. It used to be 20 million barrels. So depending on where that goes, you're going to see the price of oil come down. But again, WTI peaked out around 120. Like I said, we're seeing under 85 right now. To see oil drop, hopefully under $80 a barrel would be significant. We were between 65 and 70 before this all happened, though, right? So we do want to see it come down. I don't know if it'll take the rest of the year. I feel it'll be a little sooner than that, and that's going to bode well for the economy, for markets, for inflation numbers. So there's a whole lot of reasons, in my opinion, at this point, to be positive, although we are coming off a big, long 9-week streak of markets. And so you got to just keep that in perspective as well. Markets often, 2 steps forward, half a step back. So at some point there will be a pullback. But at this point, when we're looking at whether it's earnings, whether we're looking at a deal getting done, whether you look at capital markets getting more exciting, I think that's important to look at as an investor going forward.
We did have that U.S. inflation data come out. I'm wondering what stood out for you there.
Yeah, well, we're looking at the inflation numbers and looking under the hood, whether it's headline CPI, we're looking at PPI. What is it really telling us? And when we were looking at core, a lot of it came in less than expected, although higher, again, due to energy prices. And so as long as energy prices are coming down, we actually may see a lot of these inflation numbers also come down in coming months. So keep that in mind. And consumers are spending. I think that's important when we're looking at earnings. I mean, earnings are what drives markets for longer terms. And when we're looking at that, the last earnings season we had was super strong. So again, there's a lot of moving parts when managing money as a portfolio manager for over 25 years. And I think what's important is remaining diversified, make sure you're in investments that are appropriate for you, and make sure you're dealing with a good financial team overall.
Laura Pinkowski, got to leave it there, but thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.